Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Strays, opening with $8.2 million this weekend domestically and $10 million worldwide. So this definitely surprised me. I was expecting much better for this movie. The concept of talking dogs, the fact that it was R-rated, the solid marketing, and even the somewhat strong buzz I saw for this movie, I thought would help it out, but no, all of that was clearly just not there. Clearly the buzz was not there, the interest wasn't there, not enough people wanted to go check this out, surprisingly, which caught me off guard, really. And with a budget of $46 million, this just isn't gonna cover it. Unfortunately, this is looking like a pretty big flop all around. We'll see how word of mouth is on the film. It did get some solid response from audiences who did see it. It got a B+ on CinemaScore, which is pretty good. It's about on par with No Hard Feelings and even Good Boys back in 2019. So if there's any saving grace, it's that word of mouth can salvage that. But even if it does salvage it by a tiny bit, it's still not going to be enough to help this movie out. This movie's going to need to pull a Puss in Boots in order to salvage itself from this, because this is once again a very bad opening. I don't know how this movie is going to come close to making half of that worldwide. And yeah, unfortunately, this is a pretty bad opening overall. Number 4 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, making $8.5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $88 million and a worldwide total of $118 million. So this movie is still doing rather well, though honestly not as big as I thought it would. I thought the response would be much bigger and maybe even a bit similar to what Elemental did earlier this year. It's just not showing that, really. I do think it's a factor of the fact that, kids are going back to school, summer is over, they don't have as much time to go to the movies. And it's not like it's in a lot of trouble, it's just roughly $20 million away from surpassing the doubling point of its $70 million budget worldwide, and it's roughly a little over $10 million away from surpassing the $100 million milestone domestically. So I think those milestones will be surpassed very soon. I still think this movie is holding very well, given that it's the only animated film in a major wide release out right now. People are still seeing it. It's not like it's plummeting or falling drastically. It's just not as big as I was expecting it to be, especially internationally. For some reason, this movie is just not drawing a big international crowd. But even so, once again, it's still doing pretty good for itself. Just thought it would do a bit better than it actually has been. Number 3 was Oppenheimer, making $10 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $285 million and a worldwide total of $717 million. So this movie not only surpassed another milestone, but it also broke a new record. In regards to its milestone, it of course surpassed the $700 million milestone worldwide. Just an absolutely outstanding achievement that puts it in the top 5 highest grossing R-rated movies of all time worldwide, behind The Matrix, Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and Joker. It also is now officially the highest grossing film ever to never hit number 1. Basically, that means in its entire box office run, while it never hit number 1, it is the highest grossing film to do so, surpassing the previous record holder, Illumination's Sing, which is pretty impressive. Another impressive feat is that this movie is also about to surpass 2 movies that I didn't think it would be able to surpass. On the domestic side of things, it's about to surpass The Little Mermaid's entire domestic total, and worldwide it's about to surpass Fast X's entire worldwide total, which is absolutely insane. Again, I've said this plenty of times on this show, but imagine telling yourself this 4 months ago, that Oppenheimer would surpass both The Little Mermaid and Fast X. That is, I would go insane. I would call you the craziest person, yet here we are. So yes, once again, another solid weekend for Oppenheimer. It doesn't show any signs of slowing down, which is great for the movie, but not great for me, as I'm clearly running out of positive things to say about this movie. But otherwise, that's not to disparage this movie or anything. This movie has surpassed all of my expectations, and it continues to do so thus far. Once again, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Congratulations. Number 2 was Barbie, making $21 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $566 million and a worldwide total of $1.2 billion. So yes, folks, Barbie's reign as the box office queen for the past 4 weeks has come to an end. It has been dethroned as the #1 movie at the box office, which, was bound to happen, but still, what a phenomenal 4-week run as the queen of the box office. However, just because she's no longer #1 now does not mean she won't be #1 soon. As folks, this movie is approaching the domestic total of the Super Mario Brothers movie. That movie made $572 million domestically, and I've already stated how much Barbie has made thus far. And folks, I don't know about you, but I think by the time the next box office chat comes out, I think we will see Barbie as the highest grossing film of the year domestically. Again, like I said with Oppenheimer, imagine telling yourself this like 4 months ago. Absolutely insane. Yet this shows how much this movie has resonated with people. The fact that this is going to surpass a huge juggernaut that resonated with so many people before it. It shows how strong word of mouth was, how strong its legs were, and how good of a movie it was to a lot of people. This has just been an outstanding run at the box office. And worldwide, it also seems likely that it will surpass the Super Mario Brothers movie. This movie is at $1.28 billion to get specifics here. Mario made $1.35 billion. It is $7 million away, roughly, from the Super Mario Brothers movie's worldwide total. It's going to happen, and we will see Barbie surpass Mario worldwide by the time the next box office chat comes out. So yes, once again, Barbie is going to become the queen of the box office. I don't think any other movie this year is going to surpass either Mario or Barbie, but especially not Barbie. I think she has solidified herself as the queen of the box office and will remain the queen of the box office for the rest of the year. Not much more else to say, except all we have to do is wait until she officially gives herself the crown. And finally, let's end the video off with the #1 movie of the weekend, which was Blue Beetle, opening with $25 million domestically this weekend and $43 million worldwide. This is the 6th biggest opening weekend for a superhero movie this year, behind Shazam! Fury of the Gods, The Flash, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And in terms of comic book movies, it is the 7th biggest opening weekend of the year, behind the aforementioned 5 films and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. So, on the domestic side of things, this is pretty much where I expected it to do. I wasn't expecting it to totally collapse. I saw some interest. I just didn't think it would be as big as I think some people were expecting without the positive reviews were coming in. People thinking, oh, this movie's now just going to suddenly increase. I didn't see that. This pretty much fell in line with me. There was some interest, but the real big kicker to this thing was the marketing, in my opinion. There was just no promos or big promotional marketing publicity stunts or anything for this movie. I barely saw the trailer or any ads for this movie, sadly, and I think that's what kind of hurt it the most. They just kind of threw it under the bus. The benefit here, though, is the movie did not cost that much, for a superhero movie. It only costed $104 million, which at the very least worldwide isn't a bad start. 43 million opening worldwide. That's not a bad start, but it is certainly going to need a lot of word of mouth to help it out, to get it to that doubling point. And I'm not sure if it's even gonna manage to do that, as word of mouth isn't great on this movie either. It got a B plus on Cinema Score, which is unfortunately on par with Shazam Fury of the Gods, and we all know how that turned out. And while I'm sure this movie is definitely not going to turn out like that movie, I don't think it's going to plummet as hard as that one, and it's certainly not going to plummet as big as The Flash, but I'm also not expecting a lot of strong word of mouth either. I think this was another movie Warner Brothers was hoping would turn out to be like, oh, word of mouth is going to kickstart this movie. I also saw some comparisons with Elemental. I saw some people going like, well, with the strong reviews, this will surely be another Elemental. Audiences are just gonna dig this movie, but unfortunately that doesn't seem likely either. So yeah, definitely a very interesting start. We'll see how it legs out. Maybe it can pull an Elemental, or at the very least, maybe a Guardians. Well, maybe not to that extent, but you get, in terms of its legs, you get what I mean. But yeah, I'm still going to remain skeptical. This isn't a terrible opening, especially given the projections. Like, this was expected to completely collapse at the box office, but it's still not great either. This is definitely going to be something we're just going to have to wait and see how it does in the long run. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. This weekend is notable for 2 major reasons. The first being is that this Sunday is National Cinema Day. Now, if you remember from last year, National Cinema Day was this big event to celebrate the wonderful experience of going to the movies. Only last year it was on a Saturday and tickets were $3. This year it's on a Sunday and tickets are $4. Nevertheless, I think this is definitely going to boost a lot of the totals this weekend for a lot of the movies. I think we're going to see some very interesting numbers, maybe even some increases in numbers, but it's definitely going to be something interesting to see how it affects some of the movies out right now. But the other notable thing is that the only new wide release is Gran Turismo. This is a movie that is based on a true story involving a kid who loved playing Gran Turismo, so much so that he was able to race for Nissan in a big racing event. They desperately want you to know that this was based on a true story, so much so that they even added the subtitle Gran Turismo based on a true story recently. Now, this is an interesting thing because, believe it or not, this was originally supposed to come out a couple weeks ago, but Sony thought it would be a much better idea to push this movie back by 2 weeks rather than paying their writers and actors better wages. Regardless, I don't like Blue Beetle, I don't expect this to completely collapse, but I'm also not expecting great numbers either. They have been pushing this movie a lot. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have seen this trailer. Just, oh my goodness. But yes, the marketing has been very solid. I guess from that point of view, I have definitely seen some ads for it, and they've done an interesting release where instead of just pushing the movie back, they've been doing special preview screenings leading up to its wide release, and apparently it seems to be working for them as they're following up with this release strategy with Dumb Money, the GameStop movie coming out in a couple months, but we'll get to that movie when we get to there. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that affects the total. And the buzz, I'm not seeing a lot of people talking about this movie, apart from all the people who I know who are just sick and tired of seeing this trailer. But as far as people interested in actually seeing the movie, I'm not really sure. I'm seeing a whole lot of buzz, maybe a couple people here and there, and that's about it. So yeah, pretty mixed feelings on how this movie's gonna do on its opening. We'll see how it does. Maybe it can exceed expectations, maybe it'll collapse. Apparently it's been starting off a bit strong internationally, but again, we're just gonna have to wait and see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that landed the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied? Unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.